Okay, Friday show. Stevie's here. Oh no. Hi Stevie, how's the international break treating you?
Just shrug my shoulders.
Should call you Michael Nicholson. We'll get to that later on, everyone. Is that why you did that?
Aye, that was you didn't even know about that beforehand or anything. I just off the cuff, brother.
It's because you're just off telling me that you haven't actually gone through the entire minutes, so I was wondering how you'd come across that. But I guess you're just across everything, aren't you?
Somebody sent me on the highlight package of it, mate. But yeah, international break's been going all right. Aye, I really, for once, can't complain, despite the fact that the minutes that were sent out today were hardly inspiring. But no, it was a good result for Scotland, and hopefully they do the business on Sunday. And commiserations to any certain Greeks that we may know as well, Hamish.
Maybe one who provides the photos for this very channel. I don't know if he was at Hampden. If he was, I'll get some wonderful images of Scotland players celebrating. It was a good win though, Stevie. It was I actually missed the first 60 minutes, woke up and it was 0-0 and I got 4 goals and an absolute defensive goalkeeping howler. Without doubt the worst thing a Greek goalkeeper has ever done in Glasgow. Would you agree?
I am not. I'm not laying into Barkas because he's going to come to Celtic Park soon. You know what's
Keep a clean sheet.
You know what's going to happen. He's going to have a masterclass there performance. Keep a clean sheet, and it's probably the best game we'll have ever. Considering Lagabella could get absolutely slated and then just strolled it when he was at Braga, wasn't he? So I'm not going to even slag off Barkas here. But no, it was an absolute shocker from the Greek goalie. But I didn't see that one coming. I think Liam McLeod described it as a pickpocketing masterclass from Steve Clarke. And that's quite accurate because it didn't look as if Scotland were going to be even scoring 1, never mind 3. Like we actually see from them. Although they just wanted to stay in the game as much as possible, even at 1-0 down, and got a break through Christie. But I deserve credit because I think about 95% of fans in that stadium were completely against Clarke and the subs that he made in the general performance. And I think it was a lot of fragility in the end from Greece, wasn't it? So as soon as it went 1-0, 1 each, they just completely, bottles just crashed. So yeah.
Plates crashed.
We'll see. I was going to move on to that, Hamish, but thank you. Not I'm raging there or anything, but no, well done to Scotland and proving some doubters wrong. Because I really didn't see them getting 3 points tonight based on how they've been playing recently.
Apologies to any Greeks who may have been offended by what I just said. But yeah, Scotland looking decent. Belarus at the weekend, we win that, and then it sets us up for a pretty big international break next month. What is it? Greece away, Denmark at home. I think Denmark at home is the final game. So yeah, we might be getting our flights booked for the States, United States. I'm not sure. I mean, literally us, because it's, well, I guess I was in Germany, but the US seems quite expensive. Anyway, we're...
Very on a Celtic related topic, I think Kieran Tierney played well when he came on. It was good to see because he's been criticised heavily recently, I would say. Some of it quite fair, but he did come on and he was very composed down the left hand side. A couple of good runs, a couple of really good first time balls, but it was a moment when I think he held the ball on the left hand side, beat a few Greek players, and I think he ended up starting a move, which again was good. You've probably seen that bit, Hamish, but small wee moments, but
Ramsey looked alright as well. Had a wee cross-field pass.
I thought he was quite reactive to that Greece goal, but he didn't do anything wrong after it. But yeah, coming away for that, it was good to see Tierney come on and do well, because that'll do him all the world of good, especially when his confidence, I would say, is taking the bottom in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, it's definitely would be really good to see Kieran Tierney kicking on. Right, okay, plan for today was to make this a Q&A video. However, as Stevie's already mentioned, yesterday we had the minutes, and agreed minutes released from Monday's meeting between Celtic and, well, the Celtic Fans Collective and a few other groups. So we're going to pour over them and I think leave the Q&A possibly till next week. But please keep sending in your questions. We'll maybe do 1, maybe do 2 videos next week. Maybe not with Stevie. We'll maybe get an upgrade in that department. Just before we get started, though, a big thanks to Practical CBT, who, just like the Celtic board put work into transfers, Practical CBT help you put in the work on your mental well-being. Quick online workouts, coaching and support for men, and up to 33% off for Celtic AM listeners. Check the link at the top of the description. And I've probably done them a disservice even mentioning the Celtic board yet.
I was about to say,
involved.
I'm definitely going to have to use them after hearing you butcher that promo for them there. Dear oh dear.
Maybe that's part of the idea. Anyway, we had an interview on Celtic TV yesterday with Alistair Johnston. Says he's feeling good. He's still not putting a timeline on his recovery and when he'll be back. Should probably tell Brendan Rodgers that, because Brendan Rodgers has publicly said that Alistair Johnston is set to return to training next week ahead of the Dundee game. But I think he's doing quite well. He's been out for a wee while. It was the Kairat first leg when he tore his hamstring, which is his first kind of muscle tear he's had in his career. So hopefully he can come back and make a big difference to that right-hand side, because that right-hand side was painful on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's not been great for the last few weeks, if we're honest, Hamish. He's a huge miss. I mean, when you look at last season, what he offered, 8 assists, 4 goals, 13 assists in all competitions. I mean, we've got nobody remotely capable of doing that down the right in the squad when he's out. He's a huge miss. You miss that energy. I actually feel you miss his leadership as well. I think Alistair Johnston is one of the players that actually does look to drive on the rest of the team. He hasn't got this woe is me attitude in the team. You know, when the chips are down, I think Alistair Johnston does actually prefer that. Now, as well, I'm not trying to make out as if he's this world beater because he's out, like you see with some players, because I know that Johnston was also in the team when we had some terrible results last season. So, I'm not oblivious to that, but he's definitely one of our better performers. And I think the best performance we've had in 90 minutes this season was a match that I thought he was one of our best players in, when we beat Falkirk 4-1, a game we were expected to win. But you remember he scored a goal that game, but he was really good in the entire match. Like the way that he just burst forward, and I like the fact that with Johnston, there's not a lot of players that can do what he does. So he goes in the outside a lot, but he's very comfortable driving the players on the inside too. And I just hope that we don't rush him back. I think we've got to make sure that the timing's right, and I know we've got really big games coming up, and I want him fit as possible for the matches. Like in an ideal world, he'd be starting that game at Tynecastle. That's a colossal match for Celtic. But see if he's nowhere near 100% fit. I just wouldn't be risking it. I would certainly be going with probably go with Donovan, to be honest, because I've just not got a lot of faith in Ralston. I'm sure you don't too. But I'm hoping after this break, Johnston's back in training. We get to see him at Dundee. Hopefully he gets half an hour or so. And then maybe we'll get to see him against Hearts as well, even if he can't start. And then hopefully he can target that game against Rangers at Hampden, starting that. Would just be massive. And I think it would give the team and the fans a lift, because he's a massive character for us as well. He's been a very, very good player.
I was chatting to our good pal John on the Celtic Way Weekly this week, and John was kind of putting forward the case for, obviously the right-hand side of the team's really struggling at the moment, and he was saying, potentially getting Alistair Johnston back could be, quite a big thing, because he is, I think, he's certainly an improvement in Anthony Ralston and Colby Donovan at the moment, although I think we've got, relatively high hopes for Donovan. But just having Johnston back could make a difference to who's in front of him as well. I'm hoping that's certainly the case, but I'm probably a bit like you. I'm concerned about that right-hand side of the pitch, because I feel like we've tried virtually everyone in that position. Forrest, Yang, Balikwisha, Maeda, Nygren, and none of them have worked so far this season. And I still feel, despite his poor performance on Saturday, Daizen is my top choice. But have you got any kind of solutions on that right-hand side?
Well, remember as well, the manager's going to be throwing you into that game.
Forgot about that. I wasn't trying to set you up there, but it worked well.
No, look, it's not a solution, but maybe for familiarity more than anything. And I'm actually loath to bring this up. It's again with that 4-1 win over Falkirk. Johnston started in the right. and he started with James Forrest, who played very, very well that game. But I'm also reluctant to be starting James Forrest. It sends out the wrong message too. He should only be getting used sparingly. But again, the pair of them are very experienced players, and I think they're Forrest, say what you want about him, and I know again I've been saying he should be used sparingly, possibly contradicting myself here too, but his experience against Hearts is going to be massive, Hamish. And he's also got a very good scoring record against Hearts, so in short, no, it's all down to the manager. This is where he earns his £3 million a year. He's got to come up with the solutions there. I don't think he'll go with the likes of James Forrest. I don't think he will be looking to start him, especially at this stage in his career when, again, he really should be getting limited minutes. But would I be shocked if he maybe threw him on or started or gave him maybe more minutes against Dundee leading into the Hearts game? Possibly not. I think you can certainly say that Maeda on the right. It's been a failed project here. The last few games, he's really not impressed. Ballywisher's strictly down the left, isn't he? And then you've got Tenecti, who, again, seems to be very comfortable down the left too.
Sometimes playing the right.
Well,
I know it might be mad when he's clearly as a left winger, and it's crazy. One of our better players, you're thinking about moving him, but I feel like that's the situation we're in. But could you have Tenecti on the right? Could he do a better job than anyone else out on the right? And then maybe you play Maeda or even Ballywisher on the left.
Well, you're always hearing about Brendan developing players and making them better, for example. I mean, he did it with Kuhn. Kuhn was predominantly left-footed. He loved to cut inside, use his left foot, get a shot or a cross away. I think Tenecti is that type of player too, so maybe that's something that the manager can work with him on and maybe potentially develop him into that type of player, because remember as well, we're going back to Adri, Kuhn and Alistair Johnston had a fantastic relationship. See when they were at their bit now and again, calendar year 2025, I know they had a bit of a dip, but see when they were at their best and they were flying, the two of them were excellent together, Hamish. They were brilliant. So mating, a lot of that as well was because when Kuhn had the ball, he would cut inside and the amount of space it would free up for Johnston to receive the ball and then drill in his crosses. So maybe the manager could be very basic with Tenecti, get him to cut inside, just create that space, and then it feeds Johnston. So yeah, we're saying all this now, and after my initial thoughts, it's going to be James Forrest.
Yeah. Well, John, again, just going back to the Celtic Way Weekly, which you can check out in the Celtic Way's YouTube channel, John mentioned he kind of thinks maybe Benji Nygren could be an option again on the right-hand side because he would cut in and then you'd have Johnston maybe able to get on the overlap. I don't know if we've really seen that so far, because I think Nygren's games when he played in the wing, I don't think Johnston was there. Could be mistaken. They maybe overlap slightly. I would have real doubts over Nygren generally, but certainly to play in the wing, he doesn't have the pace. But maybe, clearly we're in an unideal situation and we need to make something work, but badly need to make something work in that midfield as well as a concern. Just on Daizen Maeda, he's apparently a doubt for Japan's game against Paraguay later on Friday today. He reportedly has tightness in his left foot, according to media in Japan. He's certain to miss the match against Paraguay, although they could be back for the game against Brazil on Monday. So that's something to keep monitoring if he's got some sort of tightness in your left foot. Hopefully not a major issue, but it's enough to keep him out of the game. The other bit of news, Liam Scales is out of Ireland's game away to Portugal, which is tomorrow. That's due to a family bereavement. So they've called up Jimmy Dunn. I think Scales is expected to return for Ireland's next game on Tuesday against Armenia. And then on to the important stuff, Stevie, the minutes from the meeting. Just before, as I say, I've gone through these minutes that were released, spent far too long doing that earlier. But I know you've been doing a different kind of research, listening to the legends at Four Tims Pod, who had someone from the collective on. Was that the story? How did that go?
Yeah, it's the guys, Four Tims Pod, and I think it was Andy and Tony that were on today. So they had, I think it was Paul Quigley on, spoke very well. So he was at the actual meeting as well between the club and the supporter attendees at the Collective. Yeah, and he spoke very, very well. I really recommend that. So if, like me, that you were unable to find the time to actually read through...
Too lazy.
Well, there is that too. To read through the minutes, I decided to tune in to the guys at Full Tims where they had Paul on, and found it very, very beneficial. I think the most interesting thing from it was the fact that, again, like myself, found myself really identifying with Paul in the way that he came away from the meeting, his general views towards the board, his general views around the club at the moment, where we are, and he didn't sugarcoat anything. Pretty much found myself, like, if it was... I'll get onto this maybe in a minute, right? But if maybe someone from the club came out and explained what happened at the meeting and communicated, again, I know that's a scary word for some people at Celtic, right? Whereas right away, someone from the Collective, if you're reading through the minutes, for example, and you're wanting more context to it, I mean, somebody's just already came on to a podcast and putting across their opinion and telling you how it went and what the atmosphere and the general energy was like. I found that excellent, and I found that, like, for myself, who obviously wasn't there, like, you just got the tone from it right away. And what I took from it was the fact that, again, there was just no humility whatsoever there. Reading through it, there was no accountability. It was almost like, this is what I've said about Celtic and how I feel how they are as a business and why they are where they are, because obviously in the last 15 years they've got very, very successful. Now there's been factors that have obviously led to that success, but they have milked it and they've enjoyed it. Now, where I think Celtic have probably got to the point where they are in this wee bubble and they feel like no matter how they view the club and how they think everything's going is how the rest of the fans think, and I think they feel the fans collective that were there at the meeting are actually just like a hardcore minority, but the majority are actually fine. Now that is my opinion on how they are. And when I listened to Paul on the Full Tims pod, I just came away pretty much convinced that is how they are, just in one wee echo chamber, and it's never going to change, because I do believe that they just feel that no matter what, they're right in what they do.
It's really interesting you use the phrase echo chamber, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I think the Celtic board have, like, reached a point here where I think they're totally convinced that they are doing the right thing. I personally don't think they are kind of lying here or trying to convince themselves that they're doing the right thing. I genuinely believe they're that out of touch with reality and what's actually happening. And there's just such a culture inside the boardroom, effectively, where nobody takes accountability. Everything else, everything that happens is someone else's fault, or there's some factor for the reason why that's happened. They never actually ever take responsibility for anything. If you actually read in, and we'll go into some of these notes, we're not going to do it too much because there's so much to this, but there's not actually any point where, without any caveats at all, they actually say that's not good enough. And as I say, everything is some other factor or some other club's fault, or everyone is the enemy, like the media are the enemy. I bet they feel that the Collective are the enemy here. And the reality here, and from what I've heard from the Collective, is, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, it was basically got to the point where the Collective were saying, look, we're actually here to try and help you. We all want Celtic to be a better club. We're not the enemy here, to use one of your favourite phrases. But I think it does kind of sum up the situation there. Right, we'll get into some specifics. As I say, I'm kind of regretting taking all of these notes because I don't want to completely bore you. But basically, the upshot, if you've not heard anything about this meeting, they went through, I think, the 7 questions that were on the open letter, various topics, and that was the general makeup of the meeting. Basically here, like, Celtic had an answer for everything, but not one that we particularly wanted to hear. It was more just of an excuse. So for example, they spoke about the Saturday night statement. So Michael Nicholson and Chris Mackay, who were both there, acknowledged that the statement was not well received, noting that this further highlights the importance of having these discussions with supporters to provide further context. The meeting also acknowledged more general concerns regarding the tone and delivery of the statement and how that was viewed by supporters as insulting. Michael Nicholson confirmed that this was not the intention of the statement. Michael Nicholson reminded the Celtic Fans Collective that they do not speak for all supporters, and confirmed that some supporters defended the club statement. Some, 10 people maybe, defended the club statement. When asked why there was no signature on the statement, Michael Nicholson declared this was normal practice and the statement was released on behalf of the board. Just on the long-term footballing strategy, that was question one. What is it, and when and how will it be communicated to supporters? Michael Nicholson confirmed that the club strategy is clear. The club aims to be a world-class football club in everything that we do. He says that's communicated via the club's annual report, the Fans Forum, adding that head of football operations Paul Tisdale has presented to the forum on football operations. Again, missed that completely. Why if you're so keen to get Paul Tisdale and use him as a reason for things being communicated, why are you not communicating that more public? Why would you not have Paul Tisdale speak in front of a camera to the wider Celtic support?
Yeah, I think when Celtic say that they strive to be world class in everything they do, I see that term world class now. Now, a lot of football fans are guilty of saying players are world class when they're far from it. I think those at Celtic are guilty of using world class as a buzzword. But if you are wanting to be world class and strive to be world class, at least bring in, about the 4 or 5 players that were needed for that Kairat game, for that qualifier. Then get into the Champions League. Enjoy the money that comes with that while trying to be competitive. And then use that money to actually try and do things around the stadium, which has been neglected now for 6 years. It is in a state of decay. It's rotting. And at times it is just downright disgusting to be at. They've got no intention of doing that too. I think for Celtic, they really like to say that the bog standard upgrade what they've done in the dressing room. I think they believe that and to be like world class, and then they're like, job done, we're brilliant. But the stadium itself, all around it, is still falling apart. So there's nothing world class about Celtic, nothing at all. The fans are, and even I'm not being patronising when I say it. I think the Celtic fans' support's unreal. The fan what they've pumped into the club has been ridiculous. I think the fans are. But that's it. There's nothing world class about Celtic. And another one I wanted to bring up, Hamish, was there was a bit. I think it was question. I think it was what was it? Question 3 or question 4 when they were asking about the tabloid news story, and about is there going to be any internal investigation done? And I know they said they just wanted to wash their hands off it. The club was busy enough as it was. But there's a phrase that Chris Mackay I think uses when I think the fans collective are actually looking to press on for an answer rather than just getting fobbed off. And Chris Mackay basically turned around and said in the meeting, we'll look into it. See when anybody at Celtic says that, we'll look into it and get back to you. I just translate that as shut up and leave us alone and just give us your money.
Genuinely is though, like
it is. That's how I see it. So that's what I read it. When I saw that, we'll look into it, I just thought, well, no, you won't. Realistically, you're not going to do that. Ticket
exchange, they've been looking into that for a number of years. There's so many other things at the club that the standing section, being improved or whatever, and fan surveys and all that. It's always just kind of, as you say, fobbing you off with these things. You mentioned doing transfer business early. For me, like, there's one wee bit that kind of summed up the meeting in terms of what I'm saying about Celtic just not taking responsibility, and kind of like what they do is they just twist things and they cling on to any wee thing that they've done well and kind of use that to go against the lots of things that they've not done well. So supporters acknowledged these various factors but highlighted their opinion that the club does not complete its business early in the transfer window and is therefore not ready for UEFA qualifying matches, and sought a response from the club as to why transfers are not conducted sooner. So who could really argue with that? Michael Nicholson sought to reassure attendees that the club's objective is to complete its transfer business as soon as possible in the transfer window, with the examples of Kieran Tierney and Benjamin Nygren highlighted. Kieran Tierney was a free transfer who we signed in January. He was always going to come in at the start of the window. Benji Negrin, fair enough. We got him cheaper, but the club made that happen. Credit to them there. But that's 2 players. What about the other, 4 or 5 positions that we badly needed players in that we went without for that Kairat tie? So at that point when fans are saying, why is business not being done earlier? When you look at the squad that we had, especially in the attacking areas for that Kairat tie, why are you bringing up Kieran Tierney and Benjamin Negrin and trying to kind of, and I don't use this word lightly, but almost gaslight the support into thinking, maybe we are wrong. They did actually do a couple of signings early on. Why are you not just taking responsibility and going, that wasn't good enough. Here's what we're going to do.
Just a very defensive club, Hamish, and I know you wanted to move on, but again, I know at the start I did that part, but I think it's important to bring some context to that in case people don't know what it was. But I believe Martin Gamel from the Fans Collective asked why the manager referred to some signings as club signings, which he has done several times in the last couple of months. And rather than getting an open and honest answer on it, Michael Nicholson, our CEO, basically just shrugged his shoulders and they moved on. To me, that's unacceptable because there's a clear disconnect here between the manager and those at the club, especially when it comes to those players. And I don't think enough has been made of the fact that as well at Celtic, but the fact that they're dragging like Maeda and certainly Anamura, who hasn't looked bad whatsoever for the games that I've seen him. They're damaging these guys' careers as well. But the fact that, again, it's just they're putting these guys out in the firing line and it's like a public slagging match between who actually signed them, why they were brought in, and what the goals are to develop them. So, yeah, that's another thing that I just find unacceptable. The fact that our CEO shrugged his shoulders, didn't have an answer, and then was probably determined to just move on. And look, for a CEO as well, the fact that this guy, Nicholson, has never came out, not even in the club's YouTube channel, where he's safe and secure in that boardroom, and it's all done, by people at the club, and it's all answers that are all scripted and everything. Even something as basic as that, he's never done it. It's like he's almost terrified to do it. I'm not saying go and be like Aberdeen CEO, for example, who loves being on the camera and loves being in the papers, right? There's a balance there. But it's the fact that Nicholson just loves everything to be all done behind closed doors. Everything's all done very secretive, and it just doesn't really sit well with me. It is that a CEO is absolutely determined to do all this behind the scenes as much as possible without ever wanting to come out and face the fans.
Yeah, I mean, again, listen to a few people who were at the meeting talk about Michael Nicholson. I think they were saying it was quite an interesting insight into Michael Nicholson. And a lot of them saying he doesn't particularly strike them as a leader, someone who could really be kind of demanding the best for Celtic in stuff like negotiations with, whether that be with players, clubs, other parties away from transfers. And some people saying, Chris Mackay actually came across, as much as maybe what he was saying wasn't particularly palatable, he came across a lot better, which is a bit concerning. But you hear a lot of things about Michael Nicholson maybe not being particularly well suited at the moment. I'm going to kind of round this up because I feel like we're just kind of winding ourselves up a bit going through all this. But just a couple of other things. Michael Nicholson talking about communication. Celtic appear to be obsessed with this idea that the communication is the issue, and almost like what they're doing is fine, but they're just not able to communicate it to fans, or maybe even fans are too daft to actually pick up what they're saying, which is not the case at all. I think for me, the issue, as much as communication is an issue for me, I could probably live with the club's communication being as bad as it is if I felt they were doing the right things and if I had some sort of trust in them doing the right things. The issue is that when they're not doing the right things and you're also not getting any idea of, what they think about things, and even in this meeting, you don't really get any idea. It's just defensive excuse making, talking about, internal process of reviewing the transfer window, talking about Europa League ticket prices. Again, excuses made here. They're the cheapest ticket prices in the UK, which, you know, is the case, but it just doesn't tell the full story. I mean, I think the 4 teams ourselves, Rangers, Aston Villa, and Nottingham Forest, are the Europa League teams. And, you know, out of those 4, we have the biggest stadium. So obviously, you know, we can get away with charging lower prices. I guess there's not nearly the same demand as these other clubs, and we're the one out of those 4 that's most disappointed. It's a disaster for us to be in the Europa League. It's not a disaster for Rangers, Villa or Forest to be in the Europa League. So you can't compare it, but yet they make it out as if they're doing this amazing thing by having prices lower. I like this one. So quoting again, how do you intend to modernise the club structure to compete in Europe, and why are we consistently unprepared for qualification stages? Michael Nicholson stated that the club did not accept the premise of the question. Great stuff. There was stuff about how they do transfers, and I think the line that's been brought up about that if financial values go above a certain level, they need approval from the Celtic board, and that's done via email, which seems a totally modern, up-to-date way of doing things. There's some stuff in Michael Nicholson. Apparently fan survey results coming this month as well, Stevie.
Are they just saying that though or not? I mean, we've been waiting for that long, so yeah, when it comes out, I guess I'll believe them, but large pinch of salt for that now, Hamish.
Right, closing thoughts. PQ, is that your man? He explained
it's not my
man. 4 times man. He explained that the meeting had been disappointing to fan reps in attendance and that no meaningful progress had been made. The Fans Collective would report back to signatory organisations. Michael Nicholson acknowledged the frustrations among attendees insofar as the club was unable to offer direct answers to some questions due to confidentiality. Michael Nicholson reaffirmed the club's commitment to reviewing supporters and blah, 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 blah. What happens now then, Stevie? Some sort of action, but in terms of even just away from protest, where do we go from here when Celtic are so unwilling to even acknowledge that they could perhaps be doing anything wrong? Do we just admit defeat here and get behind the team and hope for better times? Obviously that's not going to happen. Stevie's just chucked his mic away, everyone. I must admit, I missed you doing that, Stevie. Were you that angry with Michael Nicholson that you did that? Can't hear you.
There we go. I was actually going to blame myself there for the fact that I didn't power in my Surface Pro, but it was somebody else's fault. So I'll look into it and I'll get back to you.
To be fair, there was 35 minutes of this video when you were doing it really well, so that doesn't matter, mate. Let yourself off with that. Take the positives out of the situation.
I think there's 2 ways to go about it. There'll be however if you don't want to get behind what the Fans Collective are doing, get behind in any further protests, the further is. I think that's one of the things that the Fans Collectives have done well, that they haven't pressured anyone. They've not said to anybody who's not getting involved that you're not supporting the club right, or you're doing this wrong. It's still completely down to you on an individual basis, and I don't think anybody can turn around and say that Fans Collective have once put pressure on anyone to start, doing don't buy merchandise, for example, don't buy the cup tickets, and certainly don't buy the Europa League tickets or anything. They've not done that once, so they can't be accused of making anybody feel under pressure whatsoever. But they have been quite committed to not giving them any more money other than the season ticket, Hamish, and I think, certainly for me, it's made a difference. It's been absolutely crap not being able to go to some of the cup games, and if I'm lucky enough for a ticket, for Hampden, for example, I've said that I'll be selling that on. Not being to the Europa League games has been a killer too, because I just want to go and support the team, but I genuinely can't give them any more money, Hamish, and I'll be sticking to that. So maybe the collective can organise that with a merchandise boycott, and hopefully those at Celtic will actually start to listen, not for both fans, and actually take it seriously. So I still don't think they are, and it's the only way that they will take it seriously is when it starts affecting them financially. It starts affecting their bonuses and starts affecting certainly other areas that they're very comfortable in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what line the collective take next, because it's we all want to back the team, and there's some huge games coming up as well, like really, really big games, season-defining games. But also this meeting, and I think Celtic's approach, as the collective have said, will only have kind of strengthened the feeling that change is needed. So you get these two opposing forces, and it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Okay, going to head off. Stevie, thanks for staying up late. Get off to your bed and enjoy the rest of the international break, and we'll no doubt catch up with you ahead of the Dundee game, let's just say. Thanks everyone for watching. No videos this weekend. Back on Monday.